Yes.
All right, great. So our next talk is on ideals, Macaulay bases, and PCPs by Sophus, Rashant, Amik, Srikant, and Madhu. And
Yes.
Sophus.
Yeah, Sophus, that's me. Yes. Yeah, so welcome. I'll be talking about our paper, Ideals, Macaulay bases, and PCPs. And I will not be constructing any snacks, but at least I'll be constructing some PCPs. Yes. So to first off introduce what PCPs are. So this is again another proof system. So again, we have a prover and a verifier. But the overall twist of the PCP proof system is that the random verifier can check the proof by only reading a constant number of bits of the proof. And to make this concrete, we can look at this problem of like free coloring of a graph. So you can ask if a graph like this is free colorable, and if there's a proof of this, where the verifier only like looks at a constant number of the bits of the proof and only uses logarithmic random bits in the verification process. And to see why this is like tricky, we can consider like the most obvious kind of proof for free coloring, and that is of course to just give a free coloring. So if you give a free coloring like this, then if it's wrong, then for a verifier to be able to detect it's wrong, they have to be able to look at like both the color of the second and the 11th vertex. And if they only look at a constant number of bits of this coloring, then this will be quite hard to detect. So therefore, like this is a quite bad PCP proof, since it's quite hard to reject like false proofs like this. Yes. But however, what the interesting thing is that the PCP theorem says that there does exist such a proof. Yes. And this is the statement of the PCP theorem, which is by Aurora, Lund, Madhvani, Sudan, and Szigeti, which shows that like NP-complete problem like free coloring has exactly such a protocol. And this was proven in the 90s, and there's been also follow-up proof by Hostad, for example, who showed that this kind of queries could be as low as free queries, and also by Denur, who gave a very different proof than the original proof. However, all these kind of proofs so far of the PCP theorem, also including the one I'm talking about, will use a technique called composition of PCPs. And this is where you take some weaker PCP protocols and you combine them into a stronger PCP by using this technique. And so far, all the proof of the PCP theorem has constructed such a protocol by using at least 2 compositions, and we get a proof where we only use 1 composition of then 2 PCPs. Yes. So the reason why we might care about this is that while proof composition is a very nice technique to like make the prove this theorem, it also kind of maybe obscures a bit what the PCP protocol actually does for free coloring, for example, if you have many of these steps. So maybe reducing some of these might make the protocol a bit easier to understand what it actually is and how it like convinces the verifier. And secondly, like all these kind of like proof systems are somewhat related. So if you can come up with some cool thing that works for PCP, then it might also work for other related protocols. Yes. So maybe to make a bit more concrete what it is we get. So this is kind of, if you graph like how many random bits protocol uses and how many query bits verifier reads in different protocols, we can see that the original proof of the PCP theorem uses 2 different protocols. One is this Hadamard PCP, which uses correct amount of queried bits, but too many random bits. And then we have on the other extreme this low degree PCP, which uses the correct number of random bits, but too many queried bits. And in our work, we then get a new family of protocols, which kind of like interpolates between these 2 extremes. And in particular, we get by this blue dot here, a protocol which uses n to the epsilon random bits and a constant number of queried bits. And this is exactly this blue dot here is what turns out to be useful to get the composition down to only 1 composition. Yes. Okay, so now I'll talk a bit about like how our protocol works. And our protocol can actually be seen as like a twist of this low degree PCP here. So I'll first describe this in very like, again from a very high overview. So basically what it does, and this is also a protocol for free coloring. So we have some graph G with vertices V. And what we will first do is we'll identify the vertices V with some subcube of fq to the m, where fq is some finite field. Then for any kind of free coloring on our graph, we construct some polynomial p, which has the property that if this polynomial vanishes on this small subcube, then our free coloring is a valid polynomial. So then it seems like that what the prover should do is then he should just provide this polynomial p corresponding to some free coloring, and then he should prove that it vanishes on this subcube here. And this is then exactly what the prover does, and the verifier can then check this using some smart sum check protocol techniques where they don't use too many Curie bits and not too much randomness. Yes. So this is a quick overview of this low degree PCP. And now I'll introduce a bit of how our protocol varies from this. Yes. So if you recall, like from the previous slide, like the reason why this low degree PCP was expensive was it already had the correct number of random bits, but it used too many Curie bits. So we have to find a way to reduce the number of Curie bits. And if we look at this protocol, the reason why it is actually a bit expensive when it comes to Curies is that it has to do some different sub-protocols on P, and these protocols depends on the degree of this polynomial. And the way this polynomial P is constructed is by kind of like extending functions from this small subcube to polynomials on this big space here by some Lagrange interpolation. And basically the degree then will depend on like how big the subcube is, and basically its width times its dimension. So this is why we'll get like a quite high Curie complexity, because I guess this number will always be fairly high. Yes. So if you then want to reduce the number of Curies, what turns out to be useful is to maybe replace this subset, like this. But then we might be in some other subsets, which I'll talk about later, where you can kind of extend a polynomial, extend a function over here to a polynomial, which has lower degree. So this will be quite useful, but then we have the problem that before we use this kind of like sum check techniques to show that the polynomial vanishes on this subset, and now we then have to come up with another kind of way of showing that this polynomial vanishes on a general subset. Yes. So this is kind of like the challenge that our protocol has to do. So given some kind of subset V and a polynomial P, we have to show that P vanishes on this subset. And again, we use the Hilbert-Snellstein ansatz, which we also saw from the previous talk, which kind of says that if you have a subset like this, then there must be some polynomials such that if P vanishes on V, then P can be written of this form, where it's like a sum, where each summand has like one of these GIs as a part of its product, as a factor. And if we put some further restrictions on GI, then we can also say that like the degree of each of these summands will be at most the degree of P. And if this also holds, we call it a Macaulay basis. So that's why it disappears in the title of the paper. Okay, but this seems to be very useful for what we need to do for our protocol, because this is what we want to show. And then we just here have that this then holds if and only if there exists such a decomposition. So what the prover basically can do is he can just give like these polynomials hi to the verifier, and then the verifier himself can then check this identity here. So this is basically the overall idea of the protocol. And then it uses a lot of the same steps as the low degree PCP does to like make sure that the evil prover cannot cheat us in any way. But if we like check all the correct things and such and do some low degree test and blah, 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 then we should get to a state where we should have the correct soundness and completeness. Yes. Okay, so this is kind of what our protocol is. And to round off, I'll just describe a bit which subset we then should use. So first off, again, like the cube, which was also what we used originally, is still just like the correct one for our protocol, and which gets the correct number of random bits, but then uses too many Curie bits. And the reason why like the cube is useful is basically that the cube can be defined using few of these GI equations, because you basically just need an equation for each coordinate to say that like the coordinate has to be within this kind of range here, in this case between like 0 and 2. So therefore, since we have to like use few equations to define it, then the like prover doesn't have to give too many polynomials to the verifier. Yes, and then for getting few Curies, then we use a bit more of a weird subset. And this is basically the points here of having weight at most 1. So like all the strings of consisting of zeros and ones, where there's at most one coordinate which is equal to 1. And this subset is quite useful because, as you maybe can imagine, if you just take any function defined on this subset, then you can just extend it to a linear polynomial on the whole space by just like assigning the coefficient of this variable to the value at this point here. Yes, and if we then also like take it to the fourth power, then this will basically just make it so if we extend to over this subset instead, it will just be degree 4 polynomials. So it will still be like extending to a constant degree polynomial. So this will have the effect that the qubit bits will actually be just constant. And we still have too many random bits. We have square root n random bits that this protocol uses. But the twist is that like before the Hadamard PCP had like n squared random bits. So now we've gotten it down to square root n random bits. And it turns out that this is exactly enough that if you just compose these two, then you get a PCP protocol with the correct parameters. This is basically because if you put this quantity here inside here, then it gives log n. Yes, that's a well idea. Yes, so this kind of rounds out my talk. So to summarize a bit, so we have shown a new proof of the PCP theorem, which only uses one composition, and the two PCPs we used in our protocol is basically the same protocol with just different subsets. And then the obvious next goal would then to say, okay, what about zero composition? And this seems to be harder, and this is something we have been thinking about, but we have not been able to show yet. Okay, and then finally, maybe as a moral of this talk, if you have some kind of like proof system or protocol where you uses like sum check to show that some polynomial vanishes on a subcube, then you might be able to use some of the techniques in this paper to go from a subcube to another subset, such that you get maybe a new protocol with different parameters than the one you started with. Yes, and thanks for listening.